How's it? Welcome back. We are finally getting one step closer to starting this little Husqvarna lawn tractor. Battery maybe not big enough. Probably way too much. If you guys remember from a previous episode, we put in a new motor. Now it didn't look new, but we stripped it down, we checked out the internals, and we could see that it was brand new inside. But before we can start it, we need to bolt up a muffler, I would think. Otherwise it's going to be really noisy. My wife will probably end up moaning at me again. The muffler that came with the chassis when I bought it, it was trashed, rusted to pieces. It didn't even have a header pipe on it. So the next best thing to do was to rebuild it, which is exactly what I did, and here it is. Turned out really sweet, well at least I think so. I guess there's three questions we need to ask. What is inside a muffler? How did I build it? And what does it sound like? And that's what we have inside. So of course this one is a little bit damaged. It's well used, it's rusted out, and it needs some bit of replacing. But what we have is of course a top shell, we've got a bottom shell, and then in this specific exhaust we've also got sort of a center section here. So we can actually see that this center section, I think this had a bit of a bowl, as you can see it over there, and then it like this side, which was solid, that side would have been solid as well. So the exhaust gases, they come in the top, they feed in from the motor, and then they'll come down, probably hit this top plate, swirl around in here, move through or pass through those two holes, and then they start swirling around in the bottom, and then they'll make their way out the bottom of the outlet there, and we can see that's the bottom. And then of course we've got our spark arrestor or deflector, and that thing goes on the bottom like that, and then the outlet of course is over there. This top piece was missing, so I've got a piece of 32mm pipe which we're going to feed into the top there, and then weld on a flange over here, and then we'll probably drill this out, perforate this, block the bottom off, and then that'll feed into the bottom of or into this top case, should I say, probably also protrude into the bottom. So I just popped out to one of the local muffler shops in town here in Port Elizabeth. It's EP Mufflers. They manufacture mufflers. So I took this whole lot to them, the two halves and all the little bits and pieces that were broken. And the guy sort of gave me a recommendation on what he thought might be the best plan. So what we have come up with, right, to rebuild one of these mufflers is to put our own baffles in. So we've got this little piece here, and we're going to put this over there, and we're going to weld down there, there, and there. So we'll seal that up. Then we've got this piece of perforated sheet, and what we're going to do is we're going to take some steel wool, some fiber. I think this is like a fiberglass wool. It's meant to go into mufflers, so I've got a whole lot of that, and we will shove that in here. We'll fill it. We're not going to pack it like solid, but we're going to pack it fairly densely in there, and then we'll put this on the top. Of course, we will spot weld that over there. And then what's the next bit? The inlet pipe. So I've got this as the inlet pipe. So what's going to happen is, let me try and show you from the top. This piece is going to be welded in like that. But let's have a look at it inside here. if we can see it in the light. Wait, hang on, that's not working. I think that's a bit better. So what we're going to do is stick this piece of pipe in like that, and we'll weld it all the way around here. We'll actually weld it on the outside, and then we will weld this little bung onto the end like so. So I'm not too sure if you guys can really get a nice view of it there, but anyway, that's what it looks like. So the plan here is that the exhaust gas will enter from this back side, then it'll come through here, it'll hit this bung, pass out the holes, our perforated holes in the tube, and then it can resonate and do whatever. Just excuse the little bit of mess there. It can resonate in the top here, and then basically the steel, or not the steel wool, I keep on wanting to say steel wool, but that fiberglass wool inside here will dampen the noise, it'll reduce some of that noise, and then we've also got the outlet over there, so the gas can still flow out and out the bottom and then out of the deflector. At least that is the plan. We're going to try this. Hopefully, I'm not sure if this is the ultimate best method, but we'll try it out, and if it works, well, then you guys know what works. If it doesn't, maybe we need to try something else. Finally finished the top and the bottom half. So to have a quick look here, we've got the flange. So this comes from the motor. The exhaust gas is passed down the pipe, and then they'll pass into the top of the chamber, this exhaust chamber. So ended up just welding it all the way around the top there, and putting in a bit of a gusset over there, and then also putting in a support. So this support will bolt onto the head. We'll have a look at that a little bit later. Also a small gusset in there, just to give it a bit of strength, because we can see that without that, previously it did crack. Hopefully this works. I suppose time will tell. Anyway, on the inlet, now this is in the top half of the chamber. I drilled a whole lot of 8mm holes. I can't remember how many there were. Might have been 14 or 16 holes around there, and then a whole lot of 3mm holes. And then of course blocked the bottom of the pipe off. So the exhaust gas comes through there, passes out these holes, and it does whatever exhaust gases do in the top of the chamber, and then they'll pass through to the bottom of the chamber, which we'll look at shortly. But anyway, one thing to keep in mind though, and this is what I did, is to make sure that the surface area of all of these drilled holes, the perforations here, is either equal to or exceeds the area of our pipe, of our exhaust pipe. Otherwise we're going to create unnecessary back pressure. Well, we do need a little bit of back pressure, but we don't need to create excessive back pressure. So, of course, the top half goes onto the bottom half. So having a look at the bottom half, what we've got so far is we've got that steel wool. I said it again. It's like a fiberglass wool inside here. So there's probably 1/3 and 2/3. So the fiberglass wool fills up the 2/3. It's not packed in tight. It's just a nice, dense packing that goes in there. You don't shove it in with a hammer type thing, otherwise it ends up being basically a solid chamber. But so what's going to happen is, obviously the exhaust gas, as I said, it does whatever it does in the top there, and then it escapes through this third over there. It goes through these perforations, and then it goes out of these perforations at the bottom, and then we've got that little deflector plate that goes on there. And then I take it this exhaust, this fiberglass wool is going to absorb a lot of the sound energy that's kind of bouncing around in here, and effectively that should make this really quiet. So all that we've got to do now is to put the two halves together, kind of clamp them together, and then weld the seam all the way around, bolt the deflector on the bottom, and then it's ready to go. So I've got this thing clamped together with a G clamp, and basically just going to run a stainless steel weld all the way around the bead. We'll weld it in sections to try and minimize the warpage, but yeah, I think it'll work out. I think it'll work out quite well. So I ended up getting all the welding done, completely welding the seam all the way around, gave it a bit of Scotch-Brite and had a look to see if there are any holes or anything. So visually it doesn't look like it'll leak. I've had a good look around. It doesn't look like any of the welds are going to leak, but I suppose we never know until we try it. Of course, we do still need to put the deflector on the bottom. I'll do that later. However, pretty happy with the way it's turned out so far. I think what we need to do, just to try and make this thing last a little bit longer, is to throw a bit of high heat paint on here. The paint that I've got only goes up to 700 degrees, so it should be good enough for the canister here, or the silencer. Probably going to be end up bubbling off the top here, off of our header tube, but nevertheless it's better than nothing. So I guess let's go and paint it, and then we'll throw it back onto the motor. And I'm pretty keen to hear what this thing sounds like, man. Really keen, actually. So things are getting quite exciting now. I've connected up all the wiring, so I figured out that there was only 3 wires that needed to be connected. Haven't connected up the charge wire yet. I just want to check that while it starts. Of course, we haven't started it. That's why it's getting exciting. The exhaust, new repaired exhaust, has been connected up. I've, of course, filled with oil. Don't be a chop. Really don't forget the oil. Connected up the fuel line inside there. I've put a small amount of fuel in. Hopefully we are ready to go. So I'm just going to crank it over a few times just to get the oil pressure up, and then, well, by that time I'm sure the fuel will have pulled through and hopefully it fires off. So oh yeah, also of course I got all the wiring underneath there connected up. So we've got our lights connected up, we've got our ignition switch, and then we've got the hour meter. And I'm sure you guys, some of you are wondering how many hours this hour meter has got on it. And if we turn it on, what does it actually say there? 973 hours. So that is quite a lot of hours for this chassis, although as we've seen, it is a brand spanking new engine, and I've renewed a whole lot of the components. So really those 900 hours don't really count anymore. Cool, let's get this thing well, spinning over and hopefully starting. I'm pretty sure that it is going to smoke the first time. For the first few minutes, because of obviously all the oil that we dumped down there. Hopefully it's not too bad. I've got the garage door open, brakes are on, and well, they don't seem to be working, but anyway, we can give it a go. Throttle, let's maybe just close the throttle. Whoop, there we go. So let's give it, put the choke on. And nothing. I suppose maybe what we need to do is check for some spark. That may be a good idea. Although, actually, I don't know if we're getting fuel through yet. It's possible that we're not. Maybe we should spray some quick start down here, and just, you know, just maybe that's the problem. Before I go and drain the whole battery, and you know, then we've got a battery issue as well. Quick start, I'm sure I've got some of that here somewhere. Engine start, there we go. Yep, probably way too much, but that'll do. There we go. So it's just a matter of getting some fuel through. Awesome. And it's actually really, really quiet. Okay, just going to shut it down there for a second. Flipping awesome. That is, I'm super stoked with that. I can't believe how quiet it is actually. I mean, that's the exhaust that we rebuilt with our own design in it. And I almost want to say this is more quiet than the new ones that you buy, you know, from the store. Cool. Hopefully it's not leaking anywhere. Let's see. I don't exactly know on these engines if you know when or if they are or aren't building up oil pressure. I mean, there's no oil pressure gauge, but I suppose we can just hope for the best. Everything is looking pretty good. We should probably also check the oil. I did fill it to the just over full mark, but I'm sure the oil filter would have filled up and the overall level would have dropped. And let's just pop this stuff back on. Is that correct? Yeah, it is. Awesome. Yes. Exciting. Now I've just got to get the deck repaired. I say just, but it's actually quite a lot of work. Flipping awesome. Woohoo. Okay, let's start it up again. Battery maybe not big enough. I mean, how's that? A brand new engine literally just sitting here and idling perfectly. First start. So there we have it. Pretty much just idling along there. Of course, we don't have the hood on. And pretty happy with the way it's sounding so far. Not too sure why. Maybe you guys can tell me why this regulator is only giving out 6 volts. Maybe it is only a 6 volt regulator. I mean, I'm not too sure, but might have to figure that out at some stage. I reckon we go and test out the exhaust and we go outside and do a couple of donuts around the cabbage patch. Probably not going to happen because we don't really have a cabbage patch, but we will go and test it in the next video to see how well it drives. I'm really excited to drive this thing around a little bit. We also need to start working on the cutting deck. That's kind of the next step in the project. Guys, also, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And I don't mean just thumbs up to your TV. Actually go and click the little thumbs up button. It really does help me out. Also, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think. My name is Grant Burton. This is the Burton Builds Garage. And you guys will see me in the next episode. Cheers.